Hi, I'm Tom Brookshire.
And I'm Pat Summerall. After 5 weeks of the NFL season, every Western team has won at least one game. And except for Los Angeles, they've all lost at least one game. Those Rams look pretty safe for a while, Tom, but the AFC West is really tightening up.
Well, the Kansas City Chiefs are proving they're going to try to stay in first place. They tied Green Bay 10-all, and it looks like the offense has now caught up with their good defense.
They've got to generate, I think, a little bit more offense, though, to stay ahead of Oakland. Because the Raiders, as Kenny Stabler has established him as their starting quarterback, look like they found the offensive key.
I understand the offensive line for the Raiders could be one of the best in football, and that goes all divisions.
That's what I've heard, too. In the NFC, the Rams, after their win over Dallas last week, look like they've got things pretty much as they want them.
Yeah, but they're getting ahead now and having to hold off teams late. I wonder if perhaps maybe this week Green Bay will catch up with them. That's going to be a great game.
Well, that passing combination of John Hadl to Harold Jackson is really something. What about our featured performers of the week, Tom?
In the AFC West, our featured performer of the week is Charlie Johnson, number 12 of the Denver Broncos.
This footage from last year, Charlie was acquired from Houston in '72 for a number 3 draft choice. He holds almost all the St. Louis Cardinal passing records.
He actually has 20,000 career passing yards, and of course, he did a lot of this with the St. Louis Football Cardinals.
4 touchdowns last week over the former teammates from Houston. He leads the AFC in passing yardage this year.
And he has an engineering degree out of New Mexico State. Charlie Johnson of the Denver Broncos. In the NFC West, our featured performers of the week again are John Hadl, number 21, and Harold Jackson, number 29 of the Los Angeles Rams.
This footage from this year's first 4 games, and what a day they had last week. 4 touchdowns the two combined for against the Dallas Cowboys.
Did you ever believe that 4 TD passes would go over that Dallas defense? But Harold Jackson made it possible.
Jackson has 8 touchdowns. Hadl has 12. And as I said, 8 of them to Jackson. Who said you can't throw long against the zone?
The main thing about Harold Jackson is he has 4.2 speed for the 40-yard dash and seems to be getting it against the zones right now. Those New Orleans Saints sure seem to have it in for anybody from the NFC Central Division. 2 weeks ago, they upset the Chicago Bears, and last week they got their second win of the season by turning the Detroit Lions into pussycats.
The fortunes of the New Orleans Saints have been looking up. And with Archie Manning finding Bob Newland, the Saints got in close enough to lead the Detroit Lions 3-0. However, Greg Landry brought the Lions right back into good position on this hookup with Charlie Sanders, his great tight end, and the game was tied at 3. The teams continued to seesaw the lead as Manning again drove the maturing Saints to a field goal. But the Lions were tired of 3-pointers, so Altie Taylor raced around left end to the Saints' 33-yard line. It was from there, a few plays later, that Landry hit number 25, Earl McCullough, and the Lions led 10-6. Back came the Saints and Archie to number 86, Jubilee Dunbar. It almost set off a Jubilee. However, the ball was ruled dead on the 2, but the Saints soon took it in from there and went ahead 13-10. Detroit came back to tie, but in the end, Archie and the Saints rolled for another short score at the finish of a good drive as they made it 2 in a row by whipping the Lions 20-13.
So the Saints have a winning streak going, Pat. I never thought I'd be able to say that this season.
Another impossible-to-predict team from that same NFC Western Division, Tom, has been the Atlanta Falcons of Norm Van Brocklin. After scoring 62 points in their opener, the Falcons could not put across a single touchdown in their next 3 games.
For the Falcon faithful, it looked like another gruesome Sunday, as a scoreless first period was quickly followed by a Chicago Bear touchdown. Number 26, Carl Garrett, not only scored and spiked, but he also awarded blocking guard Bob Newton a rare chance for a lineman spike. Then a miracle began to take form. Number 19, the same Bob Lee, whose sore elbow had betrayed him in previous weeks, began to find the range. Number 43, Dave Hampton, also came to life, both as a receiver and as the kind of runner who can score from anywhere on the field. Hampton's touchdown was Atlanta's first in 13 quarters, but on this particular day, it was only to be the beginning. On the next play, Nick Mickemeyer kicked off, and once again, Carl Garrett was on center stage for the Bears. Garrett's fumble resulted in 3 more points for the Falcons. And then on the next series, Bob Lee again demonstrated his arm is sound. Ken Burroughs' easy touchdown made it 17-6 at the half Atlanta. In the third period, Bob Lee came out bombing. In all, Lee hit on 11 of 13 passes and led the Falcons to well over 400 yards in total offense. And after a while, a touchdown was so commonplace, it was not even worth a celebration. On the next series, Lee tossed to a wide-open Art Malone for another easy touchdown. On the next series, it was Joe Prophet's turn to cash in, and the Bob Lee-led Falcons, who could not score a touchdown in more than 3 games, had 3 in 4 minutes. The final indignity for the Bears occurred in the fourth quarter. Van Brocklin's Birds ran Gibron's Bears right out of Atlanta Stadium. As the Dutchman said after the game, "We looked like a football team today." That they did, but they'll have to do it more than once a month to keep their fans happy.
Elsewhere in the NFC West, after posting 4 straight wins, the Los Angeles Rams found a real challenge in keeping their win streak unblemished as the Dallas Cowboys entered the fun and sun of the Los Angeles Coliseum.
Things grow well in the warm climate of Southern California, and in the climate of the Los Angeles Coliseum, the Los Angeles Rams have grown into a certified contender. Harold Jackson's 63-yard catch and run climaxed LA's first possession against the Cowboys. On their second possession, John Hadle brought the Rams right back with another Jacksonian spiral. Veteran cornerback Mel Renfro brought Dallas back, intercepting John Hadle's first misfire of the season. Since coming to the Rams from the Eagles, Harold Jackson has been one of the main reasons for the Los Angeles resurgence. The man can really streak. Jackson's third touchdown upped the LA lead to 14 points. But the Never Say Die Cowboys, under the command of Jolly Roger Staubach, came sailing back. Calvin Hill's 8-yard touchdown gallop pulled Dallas to within 7. Pressure from Larry Brooks and Fred Dreyer forced Staubach to fire off target. Eddie McMillan's interception set the stage for but another Jackson march on Dallas. Los Angeles led at halftime 34-14. On his first series of the second half, Staubach got Dallas moving full speed ahead. The former Heisman Trophy winner from Navy split the Rams secondary for 6, hitting Otto Stowe. Not to be outshone, Hadel rifled another volley to Harold Jackson to set up a field goal. For the afternoon, Harold Jackson caught 7 passes for 238 yards and 4 touchdowns, which for some receivers would be a good season. Dallas's famed multiple offense took on the look of a short-circuited computer, as no computer readout could ever have dreamed up this near incomplete misconception. Forced to punt, Mike Montgomery hung a beauty 48 yards in the warm California sun. Jim Bertelson's fumble was recovered by Jim Arneson of the Cowboys as the third quarter ended. Staubach needed only 3 plays. The third, a strike to Otto Stowe for the touch. Dallas closed the gap to 6 points on a field goal and appeared on the move late in the fourth quarter. Al Clark's interception halted the final Cowboy thrust, capping the Rams' 37-31 win over the Cowboys. L.A. remains unbeaten in 5 outings, while Dallas must regroup following their second loss in a row.
When the Broncos played the Oilers last weekend, it was homecoming for Denver's quarterback Charlie Johnson, who not only lives in Houston during the offseason, but was once an Oiler himself.
Pat, he may hang up his hat in Houston, but when they blew the whistle in the Astrodome last Sunday, he was 100% pure Denver Bronco.
There's nothing glamorous about playing quarterback in Houston, especially when you've got a herd of wild-eyed Broncos eager to avenge a recent pair of close-fought defeats. Denver quarterback Charlie Johnson has a doctorate in engineering, and from the gun he started vectoring in on a disturbingly open Haven Moses. But behind the get-tough leadership of Pastorini, the Oilers began to execute. At the goal, number 44, Fred Willis got the nod again, and his burst made it Houston 10, Denver 7. Midway through the second quarter, the on-surging Oilers had pushed the score to 20-10. On this reverse to 00, Ken Burrow. Burrow rejoiced with a highly individualized spike. But 3 plays later, Dr. Johnson narrowed the margin with a 33-yard trajectory to Haven Moses. Minutes later, the Broncos were rampaging again, this time on a reverse to Floyd Little. Behind a couple of crisp blocks, Little battered his way to the Houston 3-yard line. From there, Johnson registered his 3rd TD pass to Haven Moses to recapture the lead from the erupting Oilers at the half. Any thought about an upset was obviously premature, however, as with the beginning of the 3rd quarter, the Bronco stampede commenced. Number 36, Billy Thompson, put 6 points on the board for the defense with his 57-yard return. And the defense rejoiced with a highly individualized Lyle Alzado's spike. Despite number 75, Elbert Drungo's efforts, the route was on. And to conclude a day of 19 carries for 123 yards, Floyd Little made it 38-20. Besides giving him 4 touchdown passes for the day, Johnson's last quarter flip to Billy Van Heusen pushed the 13-year veteran quarterback over the 20,000-yard mark in career passing. Conversely, the 48-20 final score meant the extension of the Houston losing streak to 16.
Last week, the Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers met in Milwaukee. Both are among the lowest scoring teams in the league so far this season, but amazingly, between them, they've lost only 2 of 10 games.
In certain parts of Wisconsin, the citizens have their own ideas about how our country should be run. Scott Hunter's first scoring drive was thwarted by huge Wilbur Young, who batted Chester Marcole's field goal attempt 30 yards upfield, where Nate Allen recovered for Kansas City. The Chiefs jumped on the break when Lynn Dawson sent the flow to his left and then threw right to the tallest target in the league, 6-foot 10-inch Morris Stroud, number 88. The Packers came back on the strong legs of John Brockington, who once again surpassed 100 yards rushing for the day. When Scott Hunter was shaken up, number 12 left-hander Jim Delgazo replaced him and set up a perfect corner pattern to wide receiver John Staggers, number 22. At the half, Green Bay led 10-7. In the second half, Jim Delgazo kept firing into the teeth of the Kansas City defense. Delgazo completed 6 of 12 attempts, but every time he seemed to have a promising drive going, disaster would strike. Five times the Chiefs' defense stopped good scoring chances, and the Packers' defense made it tough for Lynn Dawson just to get out of his own end of the field. Young men with names from across the sea were called upon for the crucial 3-point plays. Chester Marcole and Jan Stenerud each connected once, and the two teams which last officially faced each other in Super Bowl #1 ground out a safely played tie, 10-10.
Last week against San Diego, the Oakland Raiders ran up their highest point total of the season. They look like they're well again on offense, Pat.
Yes, they do, Tom. And while they've started to find some of that old scoring flash, they may also have found a new starting quarterback.
While the Raiders have switched from Darryl LaMonica to Ken Stabler, the Chargers have switched to number 14 rookie Dan Fouts from John Unitas. Last week in the early going, Fouts to number 81 Ron Holiday began some razzle-dazzle explosives. The Charger defense wasn't above a little razzle-dazzle of its own as number 24 Bob Howard came up with this theft. Then Fouts' toss and go to number 37 Sid Edwards looked like a touchdown. But on the way, Sid was out of bounds, so the Chargers had to crank it up again. This time, Fouts went to number 86, Jim Thaxton, and San Diego led 10-6. The Raiders led at 13-10, but Dan Fouts brought the Chargers back when he hit number 25, Jerry Levias, who made a tough grab. A replay shows just how hard Jerry had to fight to get possession of the ball and the San Diego 17-13 lead. But eventually, the relentless silver and black defense began to shut plays down almost before they began. Number 77, Bubba Smith, was among the quickest of the Raiders and seems to be adding more and more to the team as each game passes. Although Fouts kept going for the Raider goal, the silver and black had decided that he was through for the day. And then number 12, Ken Stabler, brought Oakland charging on offense. He led them downfield on this series for a short one-yard score and a 20-17 lead. Then the Raiders' special team chipped in with a strip ball and a fumble recovery. A good play fake, a good pass to number 88, Bob Moore, and the Raiders had victory number 3 by a score 27-17. For Tim Rosevich and the Chargers, it was a 4th loss in 5 games and prospects for a long, hard season stretching ahead.
We'll be right back with the second half of This Week in Pro Football following station identification.
Well, it seems to me that year after year, the story of the New York Jets revolves around the injury list, Pat.
I'll have to agree with you, Tom. And last week, if the Jets had been healthy, I don't think they would have been as hard-pressed on the scoreboard as they were.
The New York Jets arrived in Foxborough, Massachusetts with their offense severely hobbled by injury. Of course, Joe Namath was out and Al Woodall was out, so the Jets had to rely on their defense. The defense answered the call and shackled the Patriots' scoring efforts throughout the afternoon. Only John Tarver, number 36, was able to make a dent in the New York forward wall, but it didn't lead to anything of consequence. The Patriots did manage one touchdown on this wild and woolly play which defies description. Suffice to say that number 55, Will Foster, recovered the ball and New England led 7-6. But then Jet running back John Riggins, number 44, took over. A rejuvenated Riggins went for 132 yards on 28 carries and looks like the spark the Jets offense needs badly. New York quarterback Bill Demery completed only one pass all day, but the throw to David Knight got the Jets in close enough for Bobby Howfield's third field goal of the afternoon. Final score, New York 9, New England 7.
In the last 16 quarters previous to last week, the Buffalo Bills had scored only once against the Baltimore Colts.
That's a lot of O's, Pat, but after last week, the Colts would like to forget all about O's, especially when there's a J after them.
The Buffalo Bills barged into their new rich stadium as cohabitants of first place in the AFC East Division. Much of their success this season is due to a man they call Juice, who was having a super season, and the Colts were primed to stop Orenthal James Orange Juice Simpson, number 32. Simpson's only inglorious moment last week was this fumble. It led to the Colts' only touchdown of the game, but that came late in the fourth quarter with the Bills already far ahead. O.J.'s teammates had made his fumble meaningless, for the Bills had built a 31-6 lead by that time, thanks to an aggressive, hard-hitting defense. Buffalo's Hard Rock defense forced the Colts into 2 lost fumbles and 2 interceptions, and 2 of the 4 turnovers led to Buffalo touchdowns. Dwight Harrison's interception and fumble lateral to Ken Stone set up a short touchdown run by quarterback Joe Ferguson. The Colts further added to their problems when punter David Lee, a man with an educated foot, showed high school dropout hands. Tony Green's recovery of Lee's fumbles set up Buffalo on the Colt 35-yard line, and Ferguson moved the Bills in for the touchdown, hitting running back Larry Watkins with a 10-yard strike. The other man in the Bills' backfield, a fellow by the name of Simpson, also got into the scoring act. Simpson's 78-yard touchdown run rounded out an afternoon of 22 carries for 166 yards and 2 touchdowns. It brought his season rushing total to over 800 yards in only 5 games, a performance that has helped the Bills to a 4-1 record and a tie with the Dolphins for first place in the AFC East. This week, the Bills find out if they're for real as they meet Miami in the Orange Bowl with first place at stake.
After losing a crucial AFC struggle with the Cleveland Browns week before last, the Cincinnati Bengals stood on a bridge over troubled waters when facing the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers last week.
This bridge over quiet waters leads to Cincinnati's Riverfront Stadium, where the men of steel from Pittsburgh found torrents of trouble in the person of the Cincinnati Bengals' roiled-up defense. Terry Bradshaw, the Pittsburgh Steelers' cocky young quarterback, was hassled, hurried, and had by a Bengals defense which descended on him in waves. And when the Steelers did manage to look something like a penthouse team, pressure from the Bengals' rush forced them to make the kind of mistakes which characterize a basement dweller. The Bengals' defense, coupled with some strong special team play, kept Cincinnati on the high ground in good field position. And Horst Muhlmann pumped through 3 field goals for a 9-0 halftime lead. Beginning the third quarter, the Bengals drove 97 yards in 18 plays with number 35, Boobie Clark, punching out the key tough yards, as Cincinnati ate up 10 minutes and 48 seconds on their way to Boobie Clark's 3-yard touchdown run and a 16-0 advantage. In the fourth quarter, Terry Bradshaw hit Ron Shanklin on a pass which was tipped by Cincinnati's Bernard Jackson. Shanklin carried to the Bengals' 6-yard line, and with the help of a penalty, 5 plays later, Preston Pearson popped over for a Pittsburgh score. But time had run out on the Pittsburgh Steelers' win streak, and the AFC Central was once again a 3-dog fight, as Cincinnati posted a crucial 19-7 victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers.
While the Steelers dropped from the ranks of the unbeaten, Pat, the Minnesota Vikings put their win streak on the line against the San Francisco 49ers.
Right, Tom, and knowing you have to play errorless ball to beat the Purple Gang, the 49ers hoped the home advantage of Candlestick Park would offset the consistent Viking onslaught.
Hoping to add to his career total of 59 interceptions, Paul Krause joined the Purple Gang, planning to plot some true trouble for the 49ers. San Francisco countered with a troublemaker of their own in number 11, Steve Spurrier. However, the 49ers got themselves in trouble on only the 3rd play of the game. Following Carl Eller's recovery of a Vic Washington fumble, it took Fran Tarkenton but 3 plays to convert the 49er miscue into a Minnesota lead. San Francisco came right back on the aging legs of Ken Willard, number 40. Willard's 33-yard burst set up a Bruce Gossett field goal. Following a missed 49er field goal, Chuck Foreman again showed why he's one of the top contenders for Rookie of the Year honors. Tarkenton then teamed up again with John Gilliam, giving the Vikes a 1st and goal at the 2. Foreman capped the 80-yard march with a short leap for a 14-6 halftime lead. Spurrier unleashed a fury of damaging darts in the second half, bringing the 49ers back. Despite a blinding blitz, Spurrier's pitch and prayer still found Willard, closing the score to 14-13. Behind excellent protection, Spurrier totaled 320 yards on 31 completions for the afternoon. Carl Eller's deflection and Paul Krause's interception halted a possible San Francisco go-ahead drive. In the final minutes, Spurrier again found Minnesota's Paul Krause too deceptive as the 10-year veteran took his 61st career interception. The 24-yard return set up a Fred Cox field goal, and the Vikings led 17-13. On the final play of the game, San Francisco dug deep into the old backyard playbook. When the scramble finally ended, the Vikings had won their 5th straight, 17-13 over San Francisco.
In the second week of the season, the Philadelphia Eagles were tied by the Giants just as time ran out. In the fourth week, the Eagles lost to the Bills by virtue of a missed field goal from short range, again as time ran out. Last week against the Cardinals, the game was once more decided on the last play. But in this case, the results were different for Philadelphia.
The Eagles traveled to St. Louis in search of their first victory, but many experts think the Eagles are a better team than 0-3-1. One reason for their optimism is 12-year veteran Roman Gabriel at quarterback, who passed for 379 yards against St. Louis. Another is 6'8" Harold Carmichael, whose 12 catches in this game made him the NFL's leading receiver thus far this year. The Eagle offense is vastly improved this year, and in the first half of the game, the defense matched their performance. The Eagle defense held the explosive St. Louis attack to just 3 points, while Gabriel directed the only touchdown drive of the half. On the first play of the drive, Don Zimmerman recovered Tom Sullivan's fumble and advanced it 5 yards downfield. Zimmerman, a rookie in his first start, had already shown a knack for being in the right place when the Eagles needed a big play. Zimmerman's catch kept alive the Eagle drive, and from the 1, Gabriel spotted the 6'8" Carmichael, who somehow slipped out unnoticed. The Eagles led 10-3 after the first half, but in the second half, Jim Hart got the Cardinal attack moving. The aggressive Eagles were all over Jackie Smith on this pass, but several plays later they forgot how to tackle, and Donnie Anderson went 21 yards for a score. St. Louis's first touchdown gave them a lift, and Hart then began seeking out wide receiver Ahmad Rashad. Rashad's 9-yard score gave the Cardinals a 17-10 lead, and after the Eagles got to within 17-13, Hart and Rashad applied what appeared to be the clincher. The Cardinals led 24-13 with less than 5 minutes to play. But as he has had to do in almost every game this season, Gabriel was up to the task of bringing the Eagles back. Carmichael was his chief weapon. First, Carmichael showed great hands and then strong legs. On the 80-yard drive, Carmichael accounted for 64 yards in catches, including the last 27 for the touchdown. The Eagles now trailed by 4, but less than 2 minutes remained, and an onside kick was their only chance. Incredibly, they got it, but even more incredible was the fact that the Eagles blew the opportunity by being offsides on the play. The Eagles had to use all their timeouts on the Cardinals' possession, and so made their last-ditch drive from 56 yards away with 51 seconds left and no timeouts remaining. Finally, with 7 seconds left, Gabriel used the Eagles' last chance on rookie Don Zimmerman. Zimmerman's catch and second effort touchdown completed a comeback of 14 points in less than 2 minutes. And for the first time, an Eagle cliffhanger ended on a happy note for the Philadelphia fans.
The Redskins and the Giants met last Sunday in New Haven for the 72nd time, Tom.
Boy, that's some series, Pat. And interestingly enough, George Allen has a personal string of 7 straight wins against the Fun City Boys.
Having prevailed in their crucial test with the Dallas Cowboys, Charlie Taylor and crew turned to the restorative postures of hot for yoga to help overcome their second challenge of the week, the New York Giants. Things got underway with defensive tackle John Mendenhall, who, although no guru, had some contortions of his own to try out on Sonny Jurgensen. With the Skins' rushing offense rated 13th in the league, the Giants knew what to watch for, and sure enough, Willie Williams, number 41, intercepted Jurgensen twice. With the airways congested by 3 interceptions, the Redskin attack fizzled to 148 yards of total offense. Fortunately for the Skins, the Giants have not been what you call your explosive ball club either. And by the half, could only muster enough offense to be close at 7-3. But as it has done so often in the past, the savage and relentless Redskin defense assumed the attack. Four times, Norm Snead's probes into the Redskins secondary were picked off. After sprinting 67 yards with this interception, 33-year-old Pat Fisher was probably more tired out than disappointed in his failure to score. Five plays later, Jurgensen called on Larry Brown from the 4, and the workhorse back got 6 points the real hard way. It was number 43's second touchdown, but after managing only 65 yards on 17 carries, it was just another day of plain hard work for Mr. Brown. The defense took matters into their own hands for the final tally when linebacker Dave Robinson returned this Norm Snead pass to round out a 21-13 victory over the Giants and give the Redskins undisputed claim to first place in the NFC East.
Well, what about our fearless selections for this week, Pat? You're putting on a big move here. You just went by me.
Just one ahead of you, though. Got some good matchups this week, though. Green Bay at Los Angeles. That ought to be a dandy.
I like the Packers' defense very much. I think Green Bay can stop the L.A. Rams early, and I think the Green Bay team can win that game.
Nobody's been able to stop that passing combination. You had a Hadel to Jackson. In fact, Charlie Waters said last week after that defeat of Dallas to Jackson, he said, "You're not all pro, man. You're all world." So I'll pick Los Angeles. Kansas City at Cincinnati.
I watched the Chiefs lose the opener, but I think the Chiefs are back. I think their defense is playing maybe better than they have in the last 3 or 4 years. I'm going to go with the Chiefs to beat the Bengals.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you again. I saw Cincinnati last week in that upset of Pittsburgh. They can move the ball on the ground on offense. They got a great field goal kicker. So I'm picking Cincinnati then. Oakland at Denver. This is a pretty good game, too.
And in the Mile High City, Denver can play inspired football, particularly at home, but I'm going to go with the Oakland Raiders.
Okay, I'll pick Denver. At any rate, we'll be back next week to show you what happens. I'm Pat Summerall.
And I'm Tom Brookshire, and we'll see you next week.
This Week in Pro Football has been brought to you by West Clocks. Promotional consideration provided by Best Western Motels. There are over 1,250 Best Western motels located in more than 900 cities throughout the United States, Canada, and Mexico. And by American Airlines. If the sun is shining there, chances are American flies there. From the Caribbean to California to the South Pacific, American Airlines to the good life. Program materials for This Week in Pro Football travel via REA Air Express.